There he is. But there,
Yay.
and I get worried sometimes because she still has the strength. She'll even like occasionally like still do like the paw on my thigh kind of thing where she's like, hey, pet me.
Yeah.
So like she still has the thigh strength and all of that. But there are times when like I'm getting up in the morning, I'm getting ready for work, and we've just kind of gotten into a routine where I'll go downstairs and feed the cat and I'll take the dogs out. And there are just days where Samus sits at the top of the stairs and just looks sad. And I'm like, you can do this. I'm like, we're not, I don't think we're at the point yet where I have to carry you down the stairs every time. So like,
yeah.
You're okay, but yeah, it just makes me sad because it's like she's still strong enough, but she sometimes seems to lack the confidence. So anyways,
today.
Welcome. Hello, everybody.
Oh.
A little bit of a preamble there. We're trying to figure some shit out, and it still doesn't quite work. I went through all these things to get this fancy like boom mic deal, and I even had to get an adapter to screw in the thing, and it doesn't sound quite right. So that's always fun. Thank God for all that money I spent, and it's not working out entirely great. It'll get there. It's just going
to take a little finessing in time.
Yeah, I'll have to play with it and work with it a little bit more and just see if there's, or get a different mic. I mean, this one wasn't super expensive. I think it was like $50, which is definitely more than I've spent on a mic before, but it's better than my headset mic. So, I mean, you know, you do what you do.
Yeah, mine is a Yeti. If you do get a different one, it's the blue. Yeti Blue. I think they have like one other one they do.
Okay.
And it's definitely pricier.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think it was like $100. But I mean, I got it because I'd used it before at work, so I was familiar with it.
Right.
It's like, well, this will be easy for me to use, and I know the quality is generally pretty good.
And it has things like gain on it that mine doesn't.
I know. If I want to be, you know, if I feel like I need to spy on people in other rooms, I just turn that gain all the way up.
Yeah, there you go.
Like an eavesdrop, which I think is really weird.
Yeah,
I wouldn't do that. 1 sec. My headphones are dying, so I need to get my charger. That is somewhere.
Okie dokie.
It's somewhere in my backpack. I just don't know which pocket I put it in. Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm texting a group chat on
That's
Discord.
Fine. Okay.
Okay.
Perfect.
Well, of course, what we're actually here to talk about today doesn't really have anything to do with Netflix series. Well, at least not yet, I suppose. They might be on the works of something. I don't know. They always seem to have something in the fire.
Definitely do. After, our tangent about audio equipment and ghost hunting.
Because what we're actually here to talk about is, I guess, still an ongoing case, if I'm not mistaken, because nothing is totally confirmed. But before we actually get into that, I wanted to ask what you're drinking.
I actually am doing a tea with a little bit of cinnamon schnapps, and I added a touch of Jaeger.
Oh my!
It's definitely an interesting flavor. I don't hate it, but I don't love it. So
I do have to criticize you a little bit. The subject for this week called only for alcohol with water. Granted, that is generally what tea is, so I'm going to give it to you. But are you curious? Because I texted you and I'm like, it's going to sound weird, but the main idea is water. I didn't
have a chance to run to the store to get any whiskey because that was my plan, was to get some whiskey. And I didn't have a chance to do that. So that is why I was like, I'll just make a tea. Like it doesn't quite count.
And this is another impromptu episode.
Yeah, it doesn't. This is hardly like an official sort of pairing thing because we're doing this again. Anyone who's been listening for a while will remember that like for the Somerton Man, it's kind of a quick impromptu thing. We wanted to get it together because it's sort of breaking stuff. So we just did a drink. We're doing the same thing this week. The whole water thing, I wasn't going to go with initially, but the case this week takes place in Indiana.
Yes.
And so I wanted to find something that was like a signature drink of Indiana. And as I was looking around, I found that the official state drink of Indiana is just water. And I initially thought that was really funny.
I didn't know states had state drinks.
That was my first reaction. I was like, wait, that's a thing? We have state everything? Like, when does this end? And the only reason that it's dumb is because the governments have to take a vote. Like they take time, which is technically costing us tax money to decide on these things. This is a law, essentially. It's a bill put forth. Yeah, they took time to designate their official drink as water. And the only reason I thought it was kind of funny at first is because you think of states like Colorado with Coors beer, Tap the Rockies, pure crisp mountain streams of of water.
Here we have
Minnesota.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. I only brought that up because of their tagline. Like it's just kind of their thing. Like it really is just water, and they, as far as I know, are a terrible family.
That's a whole other thing. But we have so many better beers. And I get
yeah, you do.
Worked up when people are like, "Oh yeah, like you drink Coors," and I'm like, "No, I don't. I don't like it."
Yeah,
I think
it is kind of
and like there's a reason we call it piss beer because it tastes like piss, and it's awful.
It is one of those things that like has a huge chasm between it. Like you either are a Coors person, you love it, like it is your beer, that's all you drink, or you have, I think it's fair to say, a more refined palate and you like a lot of different types of beers, or you're willing to try it. And if you try that variety of beers, you find pretty quickly that Coors is not great. It can be refreshing. It's made with those pure mountain stream, pure filtered water elements.
I mean, we do have great
but other
water,
than that, it's
so
not a great beer.
Is that.
Yeah. And that brings us back to the whole thing. I would have also assumed that like Minnesota, land of 10,000 lakes. Hey, lakes are our thing. We got a plentiful amount of water. Let's make that our official drink. No, I wouldn't have guessed Indiana. Like they're like, well, let's make water. But the more I thought about it, it was kind of adorable. Like we're so pure. We're such, good people. We don't. Yeah, our official drink is water. It's life-sustaining. It's life-bringing. And the case that we're talking about is involved with hiking, that kind of thing. And I'm like, well, if you're going on a hike, you want to bring water. So the more I thought about it, I'm like, you know what? Your own preferred spirit with a splash of water. It feels appropriate for tonight. And without any further ado, Celine, what are we talking about tonight?
So we are talking about the murders of Abigail Williams and Liberty German, which is also called the Delphi murders and or the Snapchat murders. Very creepy.
Yeah, I do like Delphi better. The idea of like their hometown. I was looking up a little bit. I think when I first heard about it, I didn't even realize that it was Delphi, Indiana. Like that was the place. So we're hopefully trying to represent Indiana and Delphi and doing them justice, and hopefully getting some answers in this incredibly bizarre case.
I hope so. Just because like listening to this case like the first time, I was like, this is just so heartbreaking and it makes me so sad. And for anyone that watches or listens to stuff on YouTube, Kendall Ray actually does a very great episode with this with, I believe it is Liberty German's older sister. She comes on as a guest and she tells the whole thing like from her perspective. And she just talks about everything like leading up to it, kind of the aftermath with being in the family and stuff like that. And she does a very good job. So I highly recommend listening to that for anyone who might need like a refresher, or if you just really want to dive deep into this case, since we're not going to do tons of that today, but we'll talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, similar to the Somerton Man, this will probably be a shorter episode.
Yeah.
This is kind of spur of the moment. We don't have like a set research guide of breakdown, an outline, whatever, what you might say. So yeah, this is probably going to be a little shorter, but it's because it's all happening right now.
Yeah. And with that, this case has been unsolved since February of 2017, which was basically Abigail and Liberty went on like this hike to go take photos. They were just having like a fun, I think it was like a Sunday afternoon. They were just going out, doing what most 13, 14-year-old kids do, where they're like, I want to take photos and like have like a photo shoot with my friends because we're so, I feel like a lot of teenage girls go through that where it's like, oh, like we're gonna do a photo shoot because like we're just so cool and we're just like amazing, it's that, which by all means you do you, and
I think I think as like an older person, it's easy to look back on that and see it as something so trivial, but that's one of the things that makes it so sad is it's, for whatever reason, I always remember thinking, or like I conflate it with another case. I always think that they're like college age or even a little older. So yeah, I didn't realize until I was looking into some videos today of like, they're at that perfect moment where like you're at that age where you're able to kind of stretch your individuality and your independence. Your parents aren't, well, hopefully not helicoptering you at this point. They're letting you go off and go hiking and go biking with your friends and stuff.
Yeah, because they were, I think they were in like 8th grade at this age. So, you're at the age where your parents trust you enough to be able to go and do things on your own, but like, kind of being smart about it, like don't talk to strangers, don't get in like someone's car, like don't do X, Y, and Z with someone you don't know. And
there's the freedom of not having like usually I believe there are laws in place. So like it's that at that age where you're old enough that you can go off on your own. You can't drive, so you can't go very far, which I think is part of the security of it. As a parent, they're not going to go, any particular distance, but it's like you can go off on your own, your parents trust you to come back, and you don't have like a job to worry about, you're not paying bills, so you're at that age where it's like you have the freedom to do kind of anything within the means of what your pocketbook and your legs can take you to do.
Yeah.
So it's like you have like the least amount of stress with the most amount of energy and enthusiasm just for doing stuff.
Yeah.
And it did seem like this particular occasion is something that they both loved doing. They were good friends, and it was supposed to be a great day that ended up turning horrible. The worst possible day it could be.
Yeah. And Liberty's older sister, like she was going to go with them, but I think she was saying that like something had come up and she's like, oh, like this other thing I have is like more important at the moment, as all like older siblings do with their younger siblings. It's like, well, like I have these things that like I want to do. And like sometimes it's like, I really got to get this done. And other times you're like, I don't want to like hang out with like my younger sibling. Like I want to do my own thing. And
exactly. Yeah.
But she did have photos or plans to meet them later. They were getting picked up by, I believe it was Liberty's father. He was going to pick them up and then they were all going to go do something. And they reported them missing after they went to pick them up and they were not where they were supposed to be.
Right.
Which I can imagine is like the worst thing as a parent, to be like, I'm supposed to pick up my kid and they are not here.
Absolutely.
Oh.
It's the idea of like you made a plan, and especially with kids that I assume are pretty responsible, and it's that time of life again where the parents can trust them. Like they know that if I tell them we're going to meet here, it's not like me trying to be a restrictive parent. We're trying to just plan a day. So it's like, if I tell them to meet me here at this time, they will meet me here at this time. So if they're not there, immediately you get that horrible sinking feeling of like something's wrong.
Yeah. And I think the thing that has been so jarring with having actually arrested somebody, which has been the big news, is that they arrested somebody and he has been officially charged, but there has been no trial. So at this point, he is still presumed innocent until proven guilty, but he is currently being charged with their murders. And
yeah, because I think it was just within the last 2 weeks he was picked up.
Yes.
So I mean, like, they're
October 26th.
Yeah, so I mean, they're still in the point of,
for 2 weeks.
I imagine, still kind of like processing him and gathering more evidence and stuff.
Yeah, and the man that they arrested was Richard Allen, and they actually did not have him as a person of interest until pretty recently. He wasn't like any of the first people they were looking at, which is, I think, what does kind of spark this new interest back into the case, because they're like, well, like,
he wasn't even on the radar before.
How was he not on the radar? Like, how did we miss this type of thing almost?
Yeah.
Although there is some potential suspicion that he didn't work alone, but nothing has at this point come forward.
That's something I hadn't heard before.
I think part of it is people running a little too much with some of what the police were saying when they did break the news, is that they're like, if there is any other information, or like if he did not work alone and you know something, like, let us know, as I'm sure they say with like every case. Absolutely. And then people being like, oh my God, like he didn't work alone, there's another. It's like, okay, well, like, we don't know that. Like, he could have worked alone. That is possible.
Yeah, we're just still at the point where any additional information would be helpful. So if you happen to know anything, please come forward. Yeah. It doesn't necessarily mean anything, but it is compelling.
Yes. And they have had to move him to like a undisclosed location for his safety, which
that's interesting.
Feel like makes sense. He is in the in state custody, so he is in the prison somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
They're just they're not releasing where, which I don't feel like people really need to know where he is.
I agree. Yeah.
I don't think that's something people really need to know. But
that's another kind of thing that seems to be a carryover from like previous times in history, when they would print just random details of like a crime or whatever. And it was primarily before like they had photography in newspapers and stuff. So they would create really detailed descriptions of people and stuff like that. But the number of times that an article includes like someone's home address, like, I don't think the general like public reading the story needs to have their address. That doesn't make any sense.
It's and this is kind of going off on a whole other thing. It's like when they actually did change this because of this, where you used to be able to get someone's address from like the DMV just for no reason, which is how gosh, I cannot remember this actress's name, but she was supposed to be in The Godfather 3, and she was murdered by a man who was stalking her. He got her address like from the DMV.
Right, of course he did.
Yeah.
Because that's just available. That's so weird.
It's-
It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. Like, people do not have a right to, like, your personal information like that.
Yeah. Which, I mean, of course, is easy for us to say at this point in time where, like, we have the internet, we have cell phones, so it's easier for us to, like, contact people that we might know to get that information. But I can kind of understand how, like, back in the day, that was the only way to get that. So you couldn't necessarily call someone, you couldn't necessarily email them, but it does still seem kind of fishy. Like, you should have personal contact with a person that wants you to have their address. It does make sense. Like, you shouldn't be able to go to the DMV and just get their information.
Yeah, it's kind of the idea that now that I think about it, like, it's weird that within the phone book you have, like, addresses for people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It is, and I don't know if they still do that, actually. But it's
as a mail carrier, I can say that phone books are still sent out, but I think what you're talking about is white pages and versus, like, yellow pages. We definitely still occasionally send out yellow pages, especially to people who sign up for it that, like, presumably don't have internet access or whatever. But I don't think in the 4+ years I've been doing it, we've ever sent out, like, white pages of personal information.
So what ours in very small Eagle County did was it was yellow pages for, like, businesses and everything at the front.
Oh,
and
okay,
then white pages in the back half. Oh. So it was bundled into one very large phone book.
That does kind of ring a bell. I think that's something we got at my mom's house when I was a lot younger. Yeah.
White pages does typically still list street addresses and zip codes, but I think you have to opt into it. I will probably choose not to, just because I don't want people to have my address.
Yeah, there again, that really seems to be.
I don't own a home, so.
That does seem to be a thing of, like, the 50s, 60s, even 70s era. Once you get into the 80s or 90s, it's like, yeah, I don't need to be in a book with everybody else about, like, where I live and stuff.
Yeah.
No, it's fine. It's so easy for people to, like, hack into places. I don't need the general public just having access to my information.
Yeah. Not a fan of it. And
no, doesn't make any sense.
So something I do want to touch on with this case that I think is a little extra creepy is that they had a recording of the murderer saying, I can't remember what all of the words that were picked up, because it's actually pretty hard to, like, understand, but it's something about down the hill.
Right.
It's a guy something down the hill.
The videos that I was listening to today, a lot of them talked about the idea of, like, the whole community, even the entire state of Indiana, being, like, tormented by 3 words for so many years, and it's just down the hill. And it's the only audio that, as far as we know, is of the killer, and it's just kind of creepy. Unsettling.
It's very unsettling. And I think the thing that was also kind of crazy is that they didn't really know how old the suspect was. Their age range was 18 to 40.
Right.
It's just, they're like, well, he could be older, but he just, like, looks really young. I'm like,
yeah,
sir, if I could look 18 at 40, do you do you know how many women work on looking that youthful?
Yeah, the only thing that kind of is a little bit weird about it is she did take a brief video, and you don't really see him, like, full.
You don't see him
like,
full
front
on.
present. Yeah, but I do find it hard to believe that anyone would mistake that person for being less than 30.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I do feel like you could narrow your scope a little bit, because
a little higher. Yeah, right. when they first showed the photo, where it's like with like the like suspect with like the blue jacket, and it's like blurring his heads down. I'm like, there's no way that dude is like 18. I'm like,
he's not in high school or just.
He's at least in his 30s, if not older.
The way he's walking, like he might have a bad hip or two. He seems to be having a little bit of knee trouble.
It is not the walk of a youthful 18-year-old.
No. He's not holding a skateboard or anything like that. He's an older person. He's been in the workforce for a while.
Yeah. Life is worn him down a little bit.
Yeah. He's doing his best, and he's a murderer. And so, he's got to get. I don't know where I'm going with that.
But I will say, I think the thing that throws me off quite a bit is the suspect sketch, because it looks nothing like him. So
and the thing that I was hearing a lot today is that after like multiple years, they had an original sketch from when they first went missing.
Yeah.
And then years later, they updated it, and they didn't look much alike. And I think what you're talking about too is like even the later updated sketch, he still doesn't really look like it.
No,
but it is more art than science. It's not like they're 3D printing his face. So
yeah, there is some flaw with doing sketches of suspects. It is not a science.
Yeah, it's always going off of very little information and often to the best of a person's recollection. And if modern science has taught us anything, it's that the human mind, particularly its memory, is not reliable.
Yeah. Other than that, I personally am very excited that there has been headway with this case, and that someone has been arrested and charged with it, just because there is that hope. I mean, you got to wait till the very end to see like what happens, but there is that hope that justice is going to be served.
Yeah, so many cases it seems like, especially ones that get onto the kind of the national scale, end up without any real closure. It's like this person disappeared and we have no idea what happened.
It's so sad.
Yeah, it always. That's why, not to change the subject, but the idea of Jacob Wetterling, disappeared so long ago, and the idea that there was a break in that case, just recently, within the last few years, it's like the idea of being a family member or a friend or just someone in the community who has been wondering all those years what might have happened.
Yeah.
It doesn't bring that person back, but I can understand that the closure of having that person dealt with and
not having to
held accountable
anymore.
Exactly. Yeah. Getting rid of that, just in the back of your mind, like not knowing. I can imagine that being really hard to deal with.
Yeah, because I know there are some instances where there's a breakthrough and they finally figure out who it is, but then that person died.
That's the worst.
Just like living normal, like they lived their life to the fullest, like had a very normal life. And in some ways it's so robbing for everyone else who is like close, and like everyone who was a close like family member or had a relationship with the victim, to be like, wow, you didn't reap any consequences from that. Like,
well, that kind of makes me think of the Golden State Killer.
I mean, because I feel like you'd at least feel a little better if it's like, oh, like things kind of sucked for them a little bit. You'd be like, okay, like I feel like a little better.
Yeah, it kind of makes me think of the Golden State Killer a little bit, in the sense that he was only brought to justice now, seemingly like at the end of his life. And it's like, so he basically got to live out the rest of his life just, kind of cruising along. And it really does seem unfair that they get it, even with them being brought to justice and the idea of the case officially being closed, like we know who it was. It does just kind of feel like they still got away with it, because it's like you got to live all these years kind of scot-free and you should have been in jail.
Yeah. I mean, the way we solve crimes is only getting better, and it's only getting faster.
That's true. It does feel like it's the one thing where like digital security and locks and stuff. You can go on YouTube right now and see how many people have like lock picking YouTube accounts where they show you how to pick a lock of like the top of the line, like multiple $100 locks, and they can break through it in like seconds. It does seem like the one place where the criminals aren't ahead of the crime unit is like getting away with murder. Like we have better, like even older crimes that we still had DNA for. It's like we have the technology now. We can figure out who it was. We can, go down family trees and pinpoint it to one person. It's like we do live in a time where it kind of feels like it's just a matter of time. Like you're at some point going to make some kind of mistake. Right. It's going to catch up to you.
And
which, as much as I was just talking about the Golden State Killer being disappointing, it is also kind of hopeful in that sense that even as old as he was, as long as that case had been sitting there, they did get him. Like, it's going to catch up with you.
Yeah. And for me, that was one of the things that kind of was like an added bonus for doing like an ancestry kit was, and I think I've talked about this before, was the fact that I'm like, well, like if someone else that I'm related to is like arrested for a crime for this, like I helped solve a case, like, woo.
Yeah. Which in a weird way is kind of a morbid sort of way to think of it, which is like, well, if any of my relatives commit a heinous murder, which like, I don't want to think about that, but it is kind of a comforting thing that like you could, that person should be behind bars and they should be getting mental help.
Yeah.
So it's like,
and
you could be helping getting everything kind of taken care of.
And I can't remember who it was, but I had mentioned to someone, and this was like a while ago, before I even did it, I was like, oh yeah, like I'm thinking of doing that. And they're like, well, aren't you like worried that they're going to use that? Like the police are going to use that and like find something? I'm like, I have nothing to hide. Like, no.
Right. Yeah, the only thing. Yeah, the only problem would be any relatives I have who are a close enough match to a murder scene. Like, they're the ones that have to worry about it.
They're the ones who need to worry, not me, which, like, yeah, if my relatives were off doing crimes, like, that's their problem, not mine.
Yeah.
So, no, I'm not going to feel bad about it. Janet. Actually, I have no idea. I have no idea who it was.
It's a good placeholder name. I applaud you. It's a good.
Yeah.
Coincidentally, completely off topic, we just went and saw a stage production of Rocky Horror Picture Show before Halloween, and it was great.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I will say I'm not personally a fan of the audience participation levels of it. They get a little too drunk and rowdy for my taste.
Dear.
But it was also the first time I had ever seen a stage production of it, so I wasn't used to how people get into it. But I will say it was fun. For anyone who has never seen Rocky Horror in person, I highly recommend it. Slightly different than the movie, different lines and stuff. Really good. Highly recommend it. I
actually have not seen it in person, and that's something I do want to do in the near future.
Well, and when we first started talking about it, Zach and I had talked about going to a film version, because they do kind of the same thing where like people will dress up, they'll bring little props and stuff, and they yell at the screen and they throw popcorn and stuff. So that's what I thought we were doing. I didn't realize it was a stage performance we were going to.
Ooh, okay, yeah.
And for me, it changed the dynamic a bit, because I've been on stage a little bit. I've done some plays and things, and the idea of people like yelling stuff from the crowd felt really awkward to me. I did not like it. But I feel like I would enjoy it much more as like a film production.
Yeah.
But it was definitely an experience. I highly recommend it at least once. It was quite a deal.
I will keep that in mind. And
if you have the chance, recommend it.
So going back to our topic, I actually got really excited when all of this happened, because I didn't hear news of it until like Thursday or Friday when I
Oh,
was
wow.
in Indiana. So like a few days
Oh, no
after it
kidding.
all happened, and I was like,
Yeah,
this feels a little surreal. And I'm like, to be in the same
right.
state. And I'm like, that's kind of weird, but
That's pretty cool. Yeah,
I thought it
like
was kind of
as it's
cool.
occurring.
Just kind of being like, okay, because like I've never been to Indiana before. So I'm like, I have no idea what Indiana even looks like.
Yeah, yeah. Is it like Iowa Part 2? I don't know.
So I've heard that
A
the
lot of cornfields.
southern part, or the northern part, sorry, the southern part has a lot more trees, just a lot of trees. Whereas like the northern part is a lot more like Iowa.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I think minus some of the rolling hills.
Okay.
And
Represent Indiana. Well,
yeah,
and as followers of true crime, I can understand like that sort of feeling of significance that like you're in the state, you're present as this is occurring.
yeah. I'm just excited that things have been moving with this case, because
Yeah.
it did feel like for a while that things had kind of stalled, which, I mean, I know there's so much happening behind the scenes that we don't see. And there's that one person sitting at a desk just working so hard, and they're like, I'm gonna solve this, god damn it.
Pouring
Imagine he's
over
got like a
photos
whiskey and a cigar, and he's like, who did it?
yeah. The chief's so far up my ass, I'm tasting what he had for breakfast. But he's like, I'm gonna solve this case, goddamn. He's supposed to be doing other things.
The last
but
thing I do.
I do like the drink and cigar idea. He's just sitting at a desk at like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
The janitor's walking through. How you doing tonight? And he's like, go fuck yourself. I'm solving a crime.
Yeah.
Why do you sound like you're from New York? You know we're in Indiana, right? I know where we are. Go fuck yourself.
Yep. Basically, that is how I have envisioned that people in the police force do when they are solving crimes. And it's
smoking indoors.
Yeah, it's a cold case. They're like, and everyone's like, you're not gonna crack it, Bob. And he's like, I will, god damn it.
I will, you son of a bitch. His partner's at home like, you never come home anymore. He's like, I'm gonna solve this murder.
He's like, but what about the kids? And he's like,
we don't have any kids.
She's like, we have 7. And he's like, what?
What? Since when? That's how long you've been working this case.
We had 7 kids and he didn't know.
Yeah. Again, I don't understand why we don't sound like we're from Indiana. But god damn it.
I don't know how to do an Indiana accent.
I was just thinking that. I'm like, I think I was doing kind of maybe Brooklyn. I don't know New York enough, but I'm like, it's definitely not Indiana.
No.
I know enough to know it's not. It's going to be more Midwestern, but not quite, like Minnesotan or Wisconsin.
It's not as
like,
thick.
we're in Indiana. Right. It's that in-between spot that's more Chicago, I suppose.
Maybe.
Da Bears.
Oh, da Bears.
But we're not the Bears. We're in Indiana. I don't think Indiana even has a team. I don't think that. Anyway, again, a little off topic, but still fun.
But, yeah, I do think it is interesting that a lot of the investigators were like, oh, like, he is most likely just someone hiding in plain sight.
Yeah. I forgot I was listening to some videos today, and the idea that there were multiple like press junkets and stuff that the police chief, I think it was a police chief, had done where he essentially directly addresses the killer. Just the idea that like, we know you're watching, we know that you're local, we know that you're following us, and he's like, it's just a matter of time before we find you. He's like, and just the idea of being that police chief or being the head of that team and thinking that you might have bumped into this person. You might have been in the same restaurant. You might have driven past them. And it's like, if you could just get the right details to figure out who it is, you're like, you know that they're still there. Yeah. There's something kind of comforting in that sort of determination of like, even if it's just a gut feeling of like, I know that they're here. They're still here. We have a chance. We're gonna get them.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, he definitely was just like someone hiding in plain sight, because like he worked at a CVS. And I think it was Libby's grandmother when she like went to print photos for the funeral, and she was just in general having a hard time like getting all of that done and together. And he's like, "Oh, I'm just not going to charge you for the photos," which kind of, in this lighting, it feels like an odd gesture, but I'm sure at the time it was like very nice and very kind.
For sure. It felt like the last vestige of like a small town favor, a local shop doing a nice thing for a local person, which, in the digital age is kind of falling by the wayside, I think. But it is odd that like that's a sort of detail that comes back to someone and they're like, he didn't charge me for those photos. And that's never happened before.
Yeah. And I think just kind of the fact that it was just someone who seemingly an average person in the community.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's so common for people to be like, "Oh, they were such a pillar of the community." And you're like, "Oh, little did they know." He's just like an average Joe.
Yeah. Like in a time now where we follow, Dahmer has his own Netflix show, and we've seen so many things about like Ted Bundy and stuff. You kind of expect, I think there's sort of an expectation in the public mind that like these people are larger than life. They're these almost Hollywood-esque level of personalities and stuff.
Yeah.
And even like if you watch Dahmer carefully enough, the show on Netflix, it's like he's really an unremarkable guy. And it's like, so it's not shocking that he's just this random person, but it does make you feel like he's supposed to be this kind of imposing force and this larger than life character. And it's like, no, they're often serial killers are just regular people. And that's one of the reasons that they're hard to find, is because they just blend in.
They blend into the background, or they're in a lot of ways. I think it's, for some of them, especially for someone who is like Ted Bundy, they are more unassuming.
Yeah, for sure.
And that people have so many nice things to say about them that it's like, oh, like that person, like they wouldn't hurt anybody. Like they're so kind and neighborly. But in a way it's like, well, is that just a front?
Yeah. Well, and that is the most horrifying thing about like someone who is like clinically a psychopath or a sociopath, is just the idea that they don't have empathy, but they have learned behavior that allows them to seem like they do. And so, the most likely thing that people are going to say is we didn't see it coming, because that's their mindset. Like the whole point is that they don't want to be found out. They're great at blending in.
Yeah. And I think the thing that in a way is kind of remarkable about that is that people with autism learn how to do that. And it's called masking.
Yeah. Yep.
So you're masking what is your normal behavior and mirroring what other people do. Mm-hmm. So that like you come across in what is a more normal way for society and what people deem as acceptable, versus just being your actual authentic self, which I can imagine is just exhausting all the time. Yeah.
Well, and it's sort of a weird dichotomy that we have in our, not even modern society, probably throughout all of history. Like, it seems like we all have a sense of wanting to have our own identity and being an individual, but at the same time, we desperately want to fit in. And it's this weird sort of battle between like how much we want to be ourselves and fully express who we are versus blending in well with society and like not standing out.
Yeah.
And so for people who, someone who would be a psychopath or a sociopath who literally doesn't have the functionality to feel empathy, it's like the most extreme case of just fitting in, where they're like going to watch and mimic other people. And they're like, well, I don't want them to know what's going on in my mind, so I'm going to practice. I'm going to become an excellent mimic of everybody else's behavior and just kind of fade into the background.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, and it will be more interesting to hear like what details come out more about the guy
Yeah.
that they've arrested, especially if he does get like brought to trial and convicted, like what kind of person he is. The idea of like, is he a serial killer or was this just a weird
A weird, like,
opportunistic kind of thing?
yeah.
Yeah.
I did see a list for a trial date.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I hadn't heard about that.
Let me see where I saw that. I can tell you that he is being held without bail,
Probably a good move.
and he did plead not guilty, which is not a
You don't
surprise.
say.
I
Right,
know.
yeah, for sure. Not to change the subject again, but like while you're looking that up, there was a gentleman I think it was here in Wisconsin, a guy who like plowed his minivan into a parade.
I did hear about that.
Yeah, I was watching like with Ted Bundy and other people like quote
Mhm.
in the past, you hear about them being their own lawyer, like standing for themselves.
Yeah.
And it's weird to live in an age where we have actual video footage of people doing that, and this guy decided to act as his own counsel.
Oh,
And
dear.
they have like days worth of footage on YouTube that you could watch, and it is just so interestingly baffling. I think is the best way to describe it, of him trying to defend himself, because you're watching him in an actual court of law. He's in a suit and tie. He's really well cut,
Oh, dear.
he's actually asking good questions and he's making certain points, but he just keeps objecting to like every sentence that the prosecution is making, and he's just like sometimes asking these weird questions,
Trying to not let him get a word in edgewise and
it's almost like he either thinks that by objecting so often he will somehow derail their train of thought, or he will simply prolong his ability to stay out of jail. Like the more he's in court, the less jail time he'll have, or something like that.
Yeah.
Or the more he can prolong his own going to jail. But it's just a weird, like watching him stand there and question a witness who has him dead to rights, saw him flee from the scene. It's just such a weird insight into the mind of someone who can commit a crime like that.
He's like, it's hearsay.
Yeah. The number of times that he brought up hearsay, he would object to the judge, and you can hear it in the judge's voice every single time she overrules him. She's so exhausted because it's not even hearsay. The person on the stand of most of the videos I watched is a cop who was off duty at the moment.
Oh, God.
And he's telling his own account of the events as they happened.
Dear.
And it's like every other sentence he objects to hearsay. And it's like, dude, that's not hearsay. He's telling what he saw. That's by definition not and he's just like the level of arrogance and narcissism that it has for him to try to defend himself.
Yeah.
Dang. I don't know. I watched it. I think I watched almost an hour of just straight footage of him in court defending himself. It was so bizarre.
That is insane.
To kind of bring it back to the whole Delphi situation. I think it'll be interesting to see what kind of person he is, because there again, like, I don't recall hearing about any sort of string of like Indiana murders, so
yeah,
he likely isn't a serial killer. But then there again, it begs the question, was this just an opportunistic sort of thing? Has he killed other people and he just hasn't been active for a decade or so? There's so much information to come out. There's
so many things, because it could very much be one of those things where like maybe he is like a serial killer, and I mean this is all pure speculation, of course, because I know little to nothing about him. But it could be one of those things where like he was a serial killer and it was either spread far enough apart or farther away where like people didn't really notice or make that connection.
Yeah.
Which I think would be very interesting. but I would say more likely than not, it was probably more a crime of opportunity.
I think so. Or even like maybe he's like maybe he is young enough, he's at that stage where like he's a budding serial killer and this was his first, without a better word, like this was his first kill, and like they just happened to stop him before he could continue, because they do kind of talk about how like those urges are there, but they get to a point where they build up that they just have to act on them.
It builds up and you have to do.
Yeah. So maybe he has like the template, so to speak, of what would be a serial killer, but this is just happens to be his first instance, and he won't be able to continue. There's so many questions left. It's going to be interesting to see how it progresses from here.
Yeah, I'm excited. And at the same time, I am also a little bit nervous in the sense that there is a part of me that worries that there could potentially be some sort of pedophilia tendencies involved, and that he came across two younger girls who are vulnerable, and that maybe he wasn't getting the things that he wanted, and it was easier to just kill them than to in some ways deal with the consequences of like being shot down.
Yeah, no, I see what you mean. Yeah, like he had no tendency as a murderer. He's not a serial killer in any way, but he and he saw these two girls and he just decided that he was going to take advantage of them, and the only way that he saw to kind of push it under the rug was to get rid of them. Oh God, that is terrible.
And I say that because that is something that like it is something that like as a woman in society, you have to worry about a little bit, and knowing that like, and I really hate this personally, because I think it is really dumb that we teach women to be afraid versus teaching men to do the right thing, which is kind of in the fact that like if there is rejection in some form, which I mean, I again have no idea for any of this, that the appropriate response, or the thing that you are taught that like a man could do, is lash out in a way that is angry and violent.
Right.
And that like you want to reject someone softly because he might hurt you. And that should not be the standard. That should not be okay. Whether that's completely. Like he's thinking, he's like, oh, like these girls are like far from home, like maybe I'll give them like a ride home or like something like that, and being like, no, we're good, thanks. And it's like, well, I'll show you to say no to me. Like,
right. Yeah.
And it could be something like that. It could be something more nefarious. We have no idea, but kind of the idea that you're supposed to be super polite in how you do things, but then at the same time, you could do all the things that are quote unquote right and still get murdered for it.
Yeah. No, it's an insane kind of sort of double standard almost to live with. And I remember kind of confronting that, like as a male, I won't deny that like I hardly have ever thought of it. The best sort of presentation to me of like, if you're a guy who thinks that there is no such thing as male privilege, you are not learned enough in the ways of what a lot of women go through just even trying to like go on a date. There's a great YouTube video. I don't know what the title of it is right now, but you can do a search for it. It's about the difference between how a woman prepares for a date and a guy prepares for a date. And it essentially boils down to, and this isn't necessarily an accurate time, but let's say the video is 10 minutes. The first 9 minutes will be the woman telling her friend / roommate that like, I'm going to go to this place. We're planning on meeting at this time. We don't have any plans yet to go anywhere else. I have, mace with me. I have my cell phone with me, and all of these things. And then the last 10 seconds maybe is the guy getting ready. And it's essentially him just putting on deodorant, putting on cologne, And I don't remember if he even. Oh, I think he addresses his roommate very briefly. He just says, "Hey, I'm going out," and his roommate says, "Oh, okay, cool," and then he just leaves. There's no assumption of like I might not come back at the end of the night. There's none of that, and it's like that is the idea of male privilege boiled down to 15 seconds of a 10-minute video. The fact that he doesn't even give it a second thought at all is the whole point.
That is, I cannot tell you how many times I have done that exact thing.
Right.
Going on a date and being like, here's where we're going. Here's what time we're supposed to meet. I parked my car. Like, my car is parked in this specific area. So, like, if I don't come home, that's where my car is. And doing little things like you drive separately so that if you need to leave or you need like an escape route, you are not stuck with that person that you were then meeting for the first time, which I definitely feel like that could go both ways. Like I don't think that this is a bad idea for any reason.
No, I agree.
Some reason the date is not going well at all and you're like, I need to leave. Like, especially when it's like the first time you meet someone.
Yeah, where it's like you want to have that friend who's like, okay, call me at 8:00. If it's going poorly, I'm going to pretend you're my mom and like my dog is sick or something, and then I'm going to leave. If it's going well, I'm just going to pretend you're a marketer person and I'm going to hang up on you. So it's like the real difference is that more men are starting to do that, I think, like having that sort of, emergency call. But again, the difference is the dude is just going to take it as an opportunity to leave a date that they don't want to be on anymore.
Yeah, that like maybe they're not having a good time.
Right.
For women, it's a lot more like safety oriented.
Exactly. It's potentially a literal lifeline. And the disparity there is unconscionable. It's insane. Like the fact that even exists is, I mean, because I think I was pushing 30. I think it was like 27 or 28 when I even first learned that was a thing. That's insane. That's ridiculous. Yeah. That shouldn't. Yeah, the idea that there is that much of a disparity between men and women in pretty much every category is ridiculous.
Well, and like my college campus we had a service where you could call someone to walk across campus with you, which was designed more centered towards women, which like anyone could use it. But it was more because it's like, oh, like as a woman, do I feel safe walking alone on my college campus at night?
Right.
Which, as great as I know this service was, I myself was pretty guilty of not using it. I would instead, like, if I was walking to my car, I'd just call someone and be like, hey, I'm walking to my car from like this building. Can you just chat with me for like 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Because one, they were completely on the other side of campus. And two, I still didn't want to be walking with a strange man alone at night.
Yeah.
So
it didn't,
not, for me personally, it did not solve that problem.
Yeah.
In a way.
Because it's ultimately still a strange man. You don't know how they're going to act. Yeah. And even just the idea of like, you might not want to be an inconvenience or something. And it's like, well, no, I want to be safe. But the person I'm calling to try to be safe is still an unknown male individual that I don't know what their intention is going to be.
I like the idea of it in a way, but at the same time, like, I think it could be better. But
absolutely. Well, and again, like as a dude, like when I was in college, we had those, I don't know if they're the same on every campus, but they're like little blue light, like emergency phone tower things where it's like every 100 yards or so, there was this little emergency thing.
We had them. I don't think they were blue, but we had them.
Yeah, but you know what I'm talking about. There are these little kind of towers that they're not a pay phone, but they're just an emergency like phone thing that will go immediately to campus security.
Yep.
And it was years later where like as a dude, I thought they were just cool mood lighting. I mean, I knew what they were, but I didn't give them a second thought like to actually using them. And the number of women that I went to school with who would almost look at them as like waypoints, where it's like, okay, I've got another 20 feet and then I'm at this safety zone.
Yeah.
And then they would start walking away and that blue light would be fading out and they would be in just regular street lighting until they got to the next one and they wouldn't feel safe. And it's like, that's insane. You should be able to go to your student library at 3 a.m. if you so choose and feel safe. You should be able to.
And I will say that is kind of one of the privileges of growing up in a small town is that you do feel a lot safer doing things like, especially like for women at night, because you live in an area that is generally more safe. Crime is a lot less frequent and it's not something you worry about as much. Like that was not something I worried about as much until like I got to college, because I knew more about what to do if I encountered a bear walking home from school versus like if someone was like trying to rob me.
Yeah.
Because
that's
my
actually
odds
kind
of
of
running into like a bear
fact.
or a mountain lion was a lot higher than someone being like waving like a knife at me, being like, "Give me your money." Like,
yeah, it's actually kind of a sad statement about like where our society is, in the sense that you still had that sort of anxiety of having to worry about a predator, so to speak, but it's an actual animal. Like it's a creature that is of the wild that it makes sense that you would be aware of. And it's like you shouldn't have to worry about your fellow humans like potentially doing wrong to you.
You still learn the things about like street safety, and then like you do still have that fear of like, don't do X, Y, and Z, like going on a date and stuff like that. Like those are things like you still learn.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, I'm definitely in the boat of stay safe and stay alive.
Yeah.
But I definitely feel that in a lot of instances, things can be done better.
Absolutely.
And that being said, I don't know if this is what happened.
Right.
In this case, but I can say that like from the perspective of like 13 years old, having a strange man approach you or someone like you're vaguely familiar with, you're still very much like on your guard, because you're like, well, like, what do they want? Like, what do you want from me?
Yeah, I mean that is something that the 80s and 90s made us aware of. Like before then, there were so many people that like didn't lock their doors and stuff.
I know.
And the number of like child abductions, not necessarily even skyrocketed, but became more newsworthy, so to speak, and it became more of a known thing. And so it's like parents became a lot more protective, and you don't just go out at night they used to when they were. Yeah, it's like you would just go out, play in the field or whatever, and then you would come back at dark when dinner was ready.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, that kind of shit ended pretty quickly.
Yeah. So I did find his court date. So his pre-trial hearing is January 13th.
Okay, yeah, so it's coming up pretty quick, actually.
And then his actual trial is set for March 20th.
Oh, there it is. That's a little further down the line.
But still, I mean, having the pre-trial and being like, okay, like here's all of the evidence we have and here's everything.
Indeed. Yeah, having that sense of like presenting it to the judge and being like, is this worth going to trial? And then being like, this guy is going to trial. He's going to be found guilty. Good riddance.
Yeah.
Or maybe not. I mean, innocent until proven guilty, but it does seem like the police have been very confident.
Yes. And I will say one of the things that I think is kind of noteworthy from the Indiana State Police Superintendent Doug Carter is that he said, and this is according to CNN, is that today is not a day to celebrate, but the arrest is sure to make major steps in leading to a conclusion of this long-term and complex investigation.
Yeah.
So I definitely would say that they're erring a lot more on the side of caution, and that they, as much as I'm sure they want to celebrate that headway has been made, They're like, this is not the day we celebrate. Like, we celebrate when there is a conviction and someone has been put in prison for it.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Like the idea of this isn't the time to celebrate. Nothing has been completed yet. This is the first step. Like, we have this guy and this is just beginning.
Yeah. And I think that's about everything I have on that, news and opinion wise.
We have definitely done, considering that I started this talking about how this might be a short episode, we have definitely done plenty of recording.
We have. We did talk about this, so you know.
We went on a bunch of tangents, so it was fun. I mean, there was plenty to talk about. We didn't maybe necessarily touch on the case as much as the length of the episode would dictate.
We can always cut some of it out if we want to.
Cut it out. If you want to send us any suggestions, feel free to email us at peculiarpairingspod@gmail.com or tweet at us at peculiarpairpod or check out our Instagram at peculiarpairingspod and check out our Patreon if you want to. Why not?
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
We're working on doing fun stuff over there, so join us for the fun.
And without further ado, thanks for listening, y'all. We will see you next time.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.